Hello everyone, I'm Geek Freak and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be reacting to your favourite Canadian YouTuber A's video, FNAF Security Breach versus Happy's Humble Burger Farm Showdown. So if you guys haven't seen that video, please go and watch that video first. What's that? Come back, what's this? Let's continue. Oh wow, this thing is good. This thing is long. I mean, it's like an hour long. Dude, this is gonna be very long. I'm gonna say this. I have absolutely no idea like who these characters are, and I don't know you know, like how powerful they are or anything like that. So I just want to let you guys know that. So I've got nothing else to say other than yeah, let's get to watching. I hear this is also a game, so well, I'll wait and see. So, this is your favorite Canadian YouTuber A's video, FNAF Security Breach versus Happy Humble Burger Farm. And 3, 2, 1, and go!
This episode of Show-Off Showdown is sponsored by
Sadly, Show-Off Showdown has still never been sponsored. Although a couple months ago, I did receive a couple cool review products from my good friends over at JYS, which I've done a review video on, and I highly recommend checking it out. I'll link it in the description below.
Welcome to Show-Off Showdown! In this series, the fighters are called Show-Offs, and this is the series for the Show-Off Showdown! Now let's meet the Show-Offs for tonight's showdown, shall we? Tonight is the long-awaited 5-on-5 between the Glamrock Gang and the Barnyard Buds. That's right, it's Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach versus Happy's Humble Burger Farm.
Oh, this is gonna be low.
Before we begin, this battle will feature a full pre-analysis for all characters. So sit down and strap in, because it's gonna be a long run. Now without further ado, it's time for the Show-Off Showdown pre-analysis!
Yay!
Fair warning, this pre-analysis may contain some minor or even major spoilers from both Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach and Happy's Humble Burger Farm. Please be aware of that before you continue to watch the video. You have been warned.
Okay.
The Five Nights at Freddy's series hardly needs an introduction. The iconic restaurant it takes place in, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, started out as a pretty standard Chuck E. Cheese clone, but eventually grew and evolved into an entire indoor amusement park / mall known as the Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex. It has it all. You can enjoy pizza, play video games,
if that place actually
blast,
existed,
go
it
bowling,
wouldn't last
ride
for about like 10
go-karts,
years.
and even exercise, burning off calories while consuming them at the same time. Honestly, the list goes on. But the main attraction that everyone comes to see is the band of glamorous robot rock stars, consisting of Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, Roxanne Wolf, and of course, Freddy Fazbear himself. These 4 animatronic mascots will be the main focus of this analysis. Being that the Pizzaplex takes place in modern time, I think, the Glamrock animatronics were built using the latest robotic technology and are far more advanced than their predecessors from the previous games. Not only are these robots capable of playing instruments, singing and dancing with erratic or even gymnastic movements that you normally wouldn't expect from an animatronic pizza mascot, but at the same time, they're also programmed with highly advanced artificial intelligence to the point where they're practically sentient, capable of thinking, learning, and even feeling emotion to a certain degree, with some limitations, of course. Now let's go over each of these animatronics, shall we? Let's start off with everyone's favorite, Roxanne Wolf, or Roxy for short. She is the guitarist of the Glamrock band, as well as the mascot for Roxy Raceway. Roxy is known for her competitive, stubborn, narcissistic, vain and self-centered personality, her self-esteem issues and inferiority complex, and her passion for racing, or winning races to be specific. Not to mention, she's also apparently a massive simp magnet. One interesting thing to note is that when she hunts down intruders in the mall, Roxy expresses semi-realistic wolf-like behavior as she sniffs around to seek out prey while she stalks them with stealth and agility and lunges at her prey with a powerful pounce.
Ouch.
Much like a wolf, Roxy has very strong senses of smell, hearing, and sight. Speaking of which, Roxy has a special pair of eyes designed to help her win races, but also allow her to see through walls, and from a visual perspective, the eyes also seem capable of possibly seeing infrared light. Although, if Roxy loses her eyes, she'll no longer have these abilities, and she'll obviously go blind. However, her hearing and smell senses are still
Wait a
active,
second,
and she can still
isn't
seek
she
you
already,
out
like,
even while
blind
blind,
already?
though her aim is a bit rusty, much like herself. Next up is Montgomery Gator, or Monty for short. If he was a snake, he'd be called Monty Python. Anyway, Monty is
Okay, that was
basically
good.
Bonnie's replacement. Whatever happened to Bonnie remains a mystery. Anyway, Monty loves mini golf and rock and roll, and he has a bit of a short temper. When he's not performing, he usually spends most of his time just destroying property out of rage, though whatever he's angry about is not fully known. Anyway, Monty has a special set of claws designed to help him play bass guitar, but apparently his claws are also sharp enough to cut through solid metal chains and fences. And cutting through chains is a lot harder than it looks, but I'll talk more about that later. Chica is a well-known beloved character that has come in many forms throughout the years, the latest being Glam Rock Chica. She's known for rocking an electric guitar, as well as her unusual eating habits. Not only does Chica tend to eat out of the garbage after closing time, but despite being an animatronic, she has developed a dangerous addiction to pizza and Monty's mystery mix, and will often assault staff bots or people in order to consume it, even though it's bad for her considering she's a robot, and the food she eats can often jam or lock up her insides, causing her to need constant repair, though that doesn't seem to stop her from eating. There's no doubt she's one hungry chick.
You know, there's more to my character than just eating stuff.
Well, she's also the mascot for Mazercise, so
That
I
was
guess
funny.
she also
Okay, that was
likes
good.
exercising while eating. Well, on another note, when Chica stalks Gregory around the Pizzaplex, she tries to be deceivingly helpful and friendly, lying and telling Gregory that she can take him to his parents, though she's not very good at it. That's about as much as I can say for her. Anyway, Chica has a special voice box designed to help her sing better, which is capable of creating a high-frequency vocal pitch that can stun other animatronics. I guess you could say she has a rather stunning vocal performance. Moving on. And finally, the leading superstar, Freddy Fazbear himself. He essentially assumes the role as Gregory's best friend and father figure throughout the entire game. While all of the animatronics try to hunt down Gregory, the kid you play as, if that wasn't clear, Freddy is the only one who is willing to help Gregory. Unlike the others, Freddy is known for his friendly, honest, agreeable, and enthusiastic personality. He can also be a tad slow or oblivious at times, and not everything he says is particularly helpful, but he means well. One thing to note is that Freddy appears to express the most seemingly human-like behavior of all the animatronics. This could be mainly due to his highly advanced AI I mentioned earlier, although there are some possible hints that Freddy may or may not be possessed by a human soul, just like many of the older animatronics in the past games. In fact, there are even some popular theories going around that Freddy actually holds the spirit of the son of William Afton, the man who originally murdered several children who went on to possess the animatronics many years ago. However, this isn't 100% confirmed, nor entirely known for sure, so it's hard to say whether or not if this is actually the case for Freddy or not. Although let's not forget that while Freddy's sentient AI has shown signs of human-like behavior, but at the same time he consistently speaks in character that he was programmed with, his mental and neurological functions don't operate properly whenever he's low on battery or put under repair or upgrade procedures. He often says strangely advertise-ish things things related to the Pizzaplex, and he is still programmed to abide by the rules of the Pizzaplex, limiting his free will, which he is fully aware of. You know what, I think I've talked enough about who or what Freddy is, and I'm sure you want to hear more about what Freddy can do, so let's get right into it. For starters, Freddy's body is designed with a built-in stomach hatch, which is used for storing oversized cakes and piñatas for birthday parties, but is apparently also big enough to fit a whole child inside him, without crushing him to death like most animatronics in the past. Anyway, Freddy also has a lighter inside his finger, used for lighting birthday candles, or perhaps setting things on fire. Not only that, but Freddy's AI is connected to the Pizzaplex's central system, allowing him to communicate through computers, fast watches, etc., and he can even deactivate security systems. Freddy also has a scanner built into his eyes. By scanning someone, he can detect if they're recorded in the Pizzaplex's guest list, a criminal database, or if they have sustained injury. Not to mention, when Freddy is fully upgraded, he gains all of the same special parts as his friends I've mentioned earlier, including Roxy's eyes, Monty's claws, and Chica's voice box all in one. Now on a downside, Freddy runs on a very limited battery supply. In fact, his battery life is worse than a Sega Game Gear, as he is required to recharge once every hour, otherwise his systems would malfunction and shut down completely within an hour. Though this is presumably only specific to Freddy, as it is described as a safety precaution after Freddy's system crashed during a live stage performance, so it's unlikely that the other animatronics have the same problem. Now, given that these animatronics are all built almost the exact same way, they should all have the same levels of strength, speed, and durability, so let's go over those categories, shall we? Let's start with strength. As you might know, the animatronics in past games had jaws strong enough to crush a human skull, and considering those animatronics were built in the 80s, the new and improved Glamrock animatronics should be just as strong, if not stronger, than the old ones. Not only are they obviously strong enough to overpower most humans, but they've also been shown to be able to punch through walls, shatter wooden doors, bust through gates and fences, decapitate staff bots, and Roxy can likely lift a go-kart which averagely weighs roughly 175 pounds. But the most impressive feat of strength was when Monty was briefly shown lifting a giant bucket full of balls, which should roughly weigh at least a ton, maybe 2 tons. In terms of speed, the animatronics are capable of sprinting surprisingly fast. Not only can they easily outrun Gregory, though that probably doesn't say much since he's a child, but they should be able to match the running speed of most ordinary adult humans as well. Though it is worth noting that Monty is capable of jumping surprisingly high and long distances as well. Now in terms of reaction speeds, that's kind of where the animatronics may lack. Whenever fast-moving objects come their way, they don't seem to be able to avoid them very well. The closest I could say is maybe if a mistake is made during a repair or upgrade procedure, the animatronics can react quickly the moment it happens, though we could argue that's more of a nerve reflex or something. Anyway, in terms of striking or combative speed, Monty and Roxy can literally pounce on their prey like I mentioned earlier, and they appear to move even faster for a very brief moment when lunging or striking, though it's hard to say how fast. As for durability, this is arguably their strongest element, or at least the more clear or straightforward category. The Glamrocks can take a surprising amount of physical abuse and walk it off, such as when Roxy got face slammed by a go-kart, which was driving at top speed before spinning out of control and literally flying off the track. Despite being nearly squashed to death, and not to mention having her eyes ripped out of her sockets, Roxy somehow managed to walk it off and power through it. Now if you thought that was impressive, one of the greatest durability feats would be when Glamrock Chica got crushed inside a trash compactor twice. The crushing force of a trash compactor is averagely between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds per square inch. The fact that Chica survived getting crushed under that much pressure, not to mention having her voice box ripped out after, and she was still functioning after that, is just insane. Although, as impressive as the animatronic's durability is, there is a limit to how much damage they could take before the point of decommission, as shown when Monty fell from at least several stories and hitting a few lighting trusses on the way down. While Monty did technically survive the fall, just about all of his limbs were broken off, and he could barely do anything other than crawl like a broken Terminator. Not only that, but when Freddy got ganged up and dismantled by Vanny's evil staff bots, that's when Freddy quite literally reached his breaking point and succumbed to his robotic wounds. So despite the Pizzaplex animatronics being superiorly designed to the older animatronics, they still have their fair share of flaws and weaknesses. One of the most common being the animatronics' eyes are sensitive to bright lights, which causes them to briefly malfunction, usually by flash photography or one of those laser tag guns, for instance. Although Monty wears sunglasses that shields his eyes from those. Not only that, but the animatronics can also be stunned by electric shocks. They're probably vulnerable to water, being robots and all, and despite their highly advanced AI, their systems can be hacked or taken control of if affected by the right tools or a virus powerful enough to do so. Although Freddy seems to have some resistance when Burntrap tried to take control of him, but he couldn't fight it for very long, unfortunately. Okay, I think we've covered just about everything. I'm pretty sure we're not missing anything here, right?
Are you having fun yet?
Go ahead, Princess.
Right. I forgot about her. Honestly, she got so little screen time, it feels like she was hardly there at all. But let's quickly go over her anyway. To sum up Vanny as short as possible, Vanny is basically a serial killer in a fursuit. Alright, joking aside, Vanny is the alter ego of a Fazbear security guard named Vanessa, who was originally a beta tester for the FNAF Help Wanted virtual reality experience. While testing the VR simulation, Vanessa came across an evil sentient computer virus called Glitch Trap, which had somehow merged itself with Vanessa's brain and became her evil split personality, taking control of her mind and body and locking Vanessa's true personality inside a mental prison with no escape. For those of you who watched Total Drama, remember in Total Drama All-Stars when Mike's evil split personality Mal held him prisoner inside his own subconscious? Well, it's basically the same thing with Vanny and Vanessa. Anyway, being that Vanny is technically human, she doesn't have the same strength, speed, or durability as the Glamrock animatronics. But while she lacks in strength, she makes up for it with hacks, quite literally. Not only is Vanny very smart when it comes to technology, animatronic hardware, and software hacking, but she was able to take control of most of the Pizzaplex animatronics by infecting them with the Glitch Trap virus, rendering them under her control, while also causing dangerous behavioral side effects. Vanny also has a scrambling signal inside her mask that prevents animatronics like Freddy from seeing her. It's not fully known whether if this scrambling signal is an electromagnetic pulse or something else entirely. It's possible that it might be one of those illusion discs from the Twisted One's graphic novel, which is used to trick people into seeing things that aren't really there, or perhaps hiding things in plain sight. Well, whatever the scrambling signal is, it also appears to have some kind of hallucinogenic effect on human beings, such as Gregory whenever Vanny gets close to him. Not to mention, Vanny also has a remote that allows her to manually control and command an army of staff bots, which she used to disassemble Freddy in one of the endings. However, if somebody else gets a hold of her remote, they can turn the staff bots against her, which is exactly what Gregory did when he ordered the staff bots to disassemble her, and they basically disemboweled her. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for Vanny, as well as the whole security breach gang. Now step aside, Fazbear Entertainment, cause it looks like you've got some killer competition.
Holy cow. Get it? Holy cow.
I have a very important question for you.
Go for it.
Are you hungry? Perhaps hungry for a juicy, delicious, mouth-watering hamburger? Well, there's no better place you can get one than at Happy's Humble Burger Farm.
You won't believe how happy you feel after enjoying a Happy's meal.
Neat.
If there is one thing the Happy's restaurant line is more famous for than its food, it would be its signature mascots, the Barnyard Buds, including Petey the Portly Pig, Charlie the Chillin' Chicken, Sammy the Surly Salmon, the Farmer, and the big star of the bunch, Happy the Humble Heifer. The Barnyard Buds have quite a history together, dating all the way back to the black and white days, back when the first diner was called Happy Burger, and their very first cartoon debuted as Farmyard Festivities. The Barnyard Buds have consistently evolved over time, became a worldwide sensation, and a massive multimedia franchise, spanning across many different cartoons, restaurants, cereal boxes, video games, comic books, kaiju monster movie spin-offs. Heck, Happy even has her own anime.
We'll find our way home. We are so appreciate. Have a happy humble day.
Now that you know their history,
That's weird.
let's meet the Barnyard Buds. Happy the Humble Heifer is the leader of the Barnyard Buds, ironically starting out as a background character, but then later became the leading role by popular demand of the public. As the name implies, Happy has a very optimistic and positive attitude, often acting as a motivational speaker for her friends, pushing them to keep on moving and never give up no matter what obstacles they may face. Also, expect a lot of corny cow jokes from her. She really knows how to milk those. Meet Petey the Portly Pig. While Petey is often very kind and helpful, but he's also not afraid to speak his mind or stand up for himself aggressively if necessary, or when faced with discrimination, which he often was from his cruel, abusive, wild boar brethren. But thankfully, he's got his real friends and family to give him the love and respect he truly deserves. Put your wings together for Charlie the Chillin' Chicken. Charlie has a very chilled out Zen personality. Some even called him a deadbeat. In fact, he's kind of a stereotypical hippie. Charlie is well known
Yeah.
as the singer and songwriter of the group, and his album even hit #1 on the music charts. Charlie's signature baritone guitar has become a staple of his character and the franchise. Next up is Sammy the Surly Salmon. Originally named Solomon the Standoffish Salmon, Sammy has arguably gone through the most changes out of all the Barnyard Buds, despite having the shortest history. In his current state, Sammy is basically Duke Nukem if he was a fish.
Hail to the fish, baby.
Though he also has a little bit of a surly old man vibe as well. I think Sammy just might be my favorite character. Fun fact, did you know that scientists have created an eco-friendly plastic alternative made of salmon sperm? It's true. And I bet Sammy would greatly contribute to that cause, huh?
I've got salmon nugs of steel.
And last but not least is the Farmer. The Farmer is the main antagonist throughout the Happy franchise, alongside his cousin the Fisherman. Despite often being seen as a violent, sadistic butcher, the Farmer was later humanized, showing no awareness of the intelligent nature of the animals, and he merely sees them as livestock. So, despite the Barnyard Buds being constantly chased by a side-swinging farmer trying to butcher them for meat, other than that, the Barnyard Buds live in peace and happiness, where nothing bad ever happens, and nothing disrupts their innocent, peaceful nature. Yeah, what kind of game did you think this was? Well, if it wasn't obvious enough, Happy's Humble Burger Farm is a fast food restaurant simulator / horror game in which you cook burgers and serve customers without making any mistakes, or else Happy won't be so happy anymore. Now for this battle, instead of focusing on the friendly cartoon characters I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be focusing on their more menacing, monstrous counterparts.
I'd
What
say
are
they're
they
most sick of those
exactly, you
things.
may ask? Well, it might be a bit complicated to sum up, but I'll try my best. Anyway, after Paragon and Obscura began performing 6 experiments on people, something was knocked loose within the core of Scythe. What crawled out of Scythe's core was living parasitic organisms of unknown origin, hiding in the shadows, waiting to feast on those unfortunate enough to step into the darkness. However, after Paragon dropped a nuclear bomb on the tropical island resort of Durijango in order to cover up or destroy evidence, the bombing didn't kill the organisms, it just made them mad. In fact, the fallout likely caused the organisms to mutate or evolve as they emerged from the shadows, and they somehow found and attached themselves to animatronic puppets modeled after Happy and the Barnyard Buds. Now, for those of you who are confused by some of the things I just said, or have no clue what Paragon, Obscura, or Scythe is, well, I'll try and sum it up as short as humanly possible. Paragon is a genetic research company that specializes in mind control and fabricating reality that eventually merged with Obscura, the company that owns the Happy franchise and the corporate mastermind behind it all. Imagine if McDonald's merged with the Umbrella Corporation. That's the shortest I can possibly sum it up.
The
As
Umbrella
for Scythe,
Corporation.
Scythe is the name of the planet this game takes place on. is basically similar to Earth, but with a completely different history. But I'm not going to go into detail on that because there's way too much in-depth and convoluted details regarding Paragon Obscura, the lore of Happy's Humble Burger Farm, and the entire extended side universe. If you want to learn more about those, there are some really good videos by Super Horror Bro and the Game Theorists that I highly recommend checking out. But for this video, we're mainly focusing on the characters themselves. As I've explained earlier, the Barnyard Bud's less friendly counterparts are actually living parasitic organisms fused to animatronics. Think of them as like parasitic cyborgs. Obscura has classified them as assets and given each one the following names: Asset Joy, Asset Peter, Asset Chuck, Asset Samuel, and Asset Farmer. Despite appearing as savage, mindless killing machines, these assets are actually highly intelligent. One great example being that instead of fusing with the animatronics modeled after the friendly-looking Barnyard Buzz designs, the organisms willingly chose to possess very specific animatronics modeled after the more threatening monster designs based on the kaiju spin-off movies for a more terrifying and intimidating advantage against their prey. Let's go over each of these assets, shall we? Let's start with Happy, aka Asset Joy. As a result of an organism fusing with a Happy the Humble Heifer animatronic, Asset Joy is considered to be the most dangerous out of all the assets, as she is the only asset that Obscura could not contain. Asset Joy is an extremely violent and hostile asset who often roams freely around the Burger Farm restaurant. Strangely, Asset Joy has shown unusually great interest in the activities of the employees and test subjects working there, as Asset Joy has taken upon the role of an abusive authority figure. If an employee misses a shift at the restaurant, Asset Joy forcefully drags them to work. If they make too many mistakes while serving customers, Asset Joy terrorizes them into efficiency. She's essentially quality control, but in a very messed up way. Once Asset Joy's fury is unleashed, the only way to stop her from harming or even killing you is to cook an evil burger for her, made from the piles of rotten patties she often pukes up for some reason. While terrorizing Burger Farm employees, Asset Joy exhibits strange behavior similar to weeping angels, as she only moves if the employee is not looking directly at her. Not only is her presence alone enough to drive fear into the hearts of anyone who sees or hears her distorted mooing, but Asset Joy also makes everything in her surroundings more unsettling and unnerving by using something called the ACM, or Asset Containment Mode, which was originally designed by Obscura as a security system intended to contain Asset Joy within the area surrounding the restaurant, as well as alert defenseless Burger Farm employees of her presence, but it ultimately failed as Asset Joy had somehow taken control of the ACM system, and now she uses it to terrorize employees whenever they screw up. As for her abilities, not only is Asset Joy a professional when it comes to killing or torturing people both physically and mentally, but Asset Joy has a huge gaping mouth in the middle of her back which she can use to snatch and swallow a person whole while chewing and crushing them inside her. At the end of the game, we can see that Happy was able to slaughter an entire science facility full of scientists and Obscura workers in rather gruesome ways, showing that she is capable of easily overpowering and killing dozens of people at a time with little effort. Also, being a parasitic organism fused to an animatronic, Asset Joy can also branch off her parasitic residue and use it to infect AI units and turn them into her minions. While AI units are basically robots designed to look like customers, but when infected by one of the assets, the robots often become hostile or dangerous depending on which asset infects them. They each have a different effect. When Asset Joy infects an AI unit, they become something called AI cloakers, which are capable of turning invisible or camouflaging for the purpose of causing mischief at the Burger Farm restaurant in order to increase the chances of employees making mistakes so Asset Joy can keep terrorizing them. She's certainly not making their job any easier. Anyway, near the end of the game, while being stalked by Asset Joy inside a sewer, we can see a gigantic Happy emerge and chase us down as we try to escape. Although this feat is kinda hard to confirm because, well, the entire game takes place inside a simulation designed by Paragon and Obscura. In short, you're basically Truman in the Matrix. This big factor makes it very difficult to confirm certain things, since a lot of the world around us is composed of fabricated reality with pre-rendered visual objects that aren't even really there. While it is confirmed that the robots and assets are real and physically present, it's often hard to tell what's real and what isn't real in the game. Now, since this is the only time we ever see a giant happy, it's likely this is just an illusion Acid Joy created via the simulation in order to scare us. However, this may possibly confirm that Acid Joy has some control over obscure simulations or reality fabrication, or certain parts of it. It would explain why she acts all glitchy near the end. One thing's for certain, when she contorts her body into that messed up position, you better run. You know what, I think I've explained enough about Asset Joy. We got 4 more assets to cover, so let's not waste any more time and move on to Asset Peter. Asset Peter is the result of an organism fusing with a Petey the Portly Pig animatronic. Asset Peter is a massive beast with an insatiable hunger. When a construction crew was building a new burger bun restaurant simulation, all of a sudden, Peter bursts in and devours the entire construction crew, all of the scientists working there, and dozens of AI units. Speaking of which, just like Asset Joy, Asset Peter can infect the AI units with his parasitic residue and take control of them. However, unlike Asset Joy, Peter's AI minions are purposed specifically to find and kidnap people and bring them to him to eat. Think of it as like a hive mind. Also, for some reason, his AI units self-destruct and explode when faced with hostility, hence their nickname AI Bombers, though nobody really knows how or why they explode, not even the scientists. Anyway, Acid Peter can also throw explosive projectiles torn off his own flesh, which is likely how he infects AI units. Not to mention, Acid Peter's animatronic body appears to be powered by several car batteries. Now, while Acid Peter is a rampaging ravenous beast with an endless hunger, there is physically a limit to how much he can eat before it can have serious negative effects on his body. For one, when you first encounter Asset Peter in-game, Peter has consumed so many people and robots that it caused his belly to grow so big and heavy that he became overburdened and fused to the floor, no longer able to walk anymore. Also, there were cautionary warnings not to overfeed Asset Peter, because if you feed him too many burgers, eventually the inside of his body will expand to the point where the inner tensile strength of his skin will no longer be strong enough to handle it, and it'll cause his belly to literally burst. It's basically an extra gruesome version of that semi-board game Pig Goes Pop. Anyone else remember that, or just me? Anyway, moving on to the chicken. Asset Chuck is the result of an organism fusing with a Charlie the Chillin' Chicken animatronic. However, let's just say Charlie ain't so chill anymore. Asset Chuck is a ferocious giant killer chicken with a razor-sharp beak, talons, and an appetite to match. He has very keen senses, as he could hear even the slightest of noises from roughly a mile away, as well as detect even the most subtle of movements. Asset Chuck is extremely observant and persistent when stalking and seeking out his prey. The moment Chuck is alerted, he rushes in charging like a bull and screeching like a banshee, ready for the kill. In terms of Asset Chuck's unique abilities, it appears as if he's laying eggs, but it turns out he's actually ripping out his own stomach and dropping it, and the stomach then rapidly regenerates and grows back every time he ejects it. These quote-unquote gut eggs act as proximity mines, seeking out targets and exploding on contact, causing serious injury to Chuck's prey, and the sound of the loud explosion alerts Asset Chuck as well. Trust me, you don't want to make an omelet out of those. Anyway, just like Asset Joy and Peter, Asset Chuck can also infect AI units with his parasitic residue and turn them into something called AI blinders, which function similar to AI bombers, but instead of exploding, they puke up a thick green toxic sludge that burns, causes temporary blindness and hallucinations. On another note, Asset Chuck appears to be roughly the size of an ostrich, which can grow over 8 feet tall and weigh about 300 pounds on average.
It looks like a freaking dinosaur.
Runs like one too. That combined with Chuck's bloodthirsty killer instinct and rapid regeneration ability, Asset Chuck is a lot harder to put down than he looks. In fact, he was so dangerous that Obscura had to build a special prison specifically for Asset Chuck to contain him. While they intended to keep the assets alive to study them, they did also install a powerful incinerator inside Asset Chuck's cage in case of an emergency if they need to terminate him. So the only way to defeat Asset Chuck in-game is to lure him into his cage by feeding him 3 burgers, activate the incinerator, and fry that chicken. Now, I'm sure we're all immediately thinking that Asset Chuck's weakness is simply just fire and heat, right? Well, after looking a little deeper into it, there's more to it than just that. Despite how seemingly easy he was killed by the incinerator, Acid Chuck does have some heat resistance, as his domain is an underground facility filled with lava flows, so I imagine it's pretty darn hot down there. In fact, that area was likely a lava harvesting plant where Obscura harvests magma from volcanoes to make geothermal energy. Yes, this is true. Anyway,
Okay.
considering that Acid Chuck has been casually roaming around there for years, not only does he seem unaffected by the surrounding heat, but there were also times where he accidentally stepped in or came in physical contact with lava occasionally.
Heck, there were times where Charlie can be seen walking through lava or even sitting in lava, just chilling there as if nothing's happening.
The temperature of lava is usually between 700 and 1200 degrees Celsius. Now you might be thinking, if Charlie can withstand lava, then how come he died from getting roasted by fire? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Exactly.
Well, actually, it might. For starters, being part animatronic, Acid Chuck's inner structure is likely made of steel, which can definitely withstand temperatures as hot as lava, and steel only melts at the point of around 13 to 1500 degrees Celsius. Also, it is possible to create fire hotter than lava. In fact, some flames can be as hot as 2000 degrees Celsius or greater, which is definitely hot enough to melt Charlie's metal insides and burn him to a crisp. Also, let's keep in mind that the
neat.
fire used to kill Charlie was artificially created and not natural, and not to mention was also generated using a giant propane tank. So maybe it's possible that Acid Chuck might be more vulnerable to gas fire than natural or volcanic heat, or maybe I'm just overthinking this. You know, I think I talked
Maybe.
enough about the chicken, and right now, I'm smelling something a
cool-
little
it's-
fishy here.
Oh shit! You scared the crap out of me. Jesus
Acid
freaking
Samuel is
ways.
the result of an organism fusing with a Sammy the Surly Salmon animatronic.
Okay, you got me with a
Acid
jump scare.
Samuel swims through the abandoned sewer tunnels deep within the abandoned underground Paragon facility. Obscura was able to capture and contain Acid Samuel a lot quicker and easier than the other assets, which is rather surprising, considering that Acid Samuel is quite possibly the second largest asset next to Acid Peter. In fact, Acid Samuel takes the form of a massive monstrous fish with razor-sharp teeth, and his mouth splits
that thing's
open
scary.
into 4 separate jaws, allowing for a much wider bite radius, and bigger chomps taken out of any prey unfortunate enough to fall into his watery domain. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot known about Acid Samuel, aside from being a giant fish that eats you. In fact, he only shows up for one very short chase scene, so he's got very little to work with here. The best I can do for Acid Samuel is determine his exact size and weight. To do this, I had to contact some of the official side devs in the Happy's Hubbleburger Farm Discord server and ask them a few questions regarding Acid Samuel. When I asked if there was any way to determine exactly how big Acid Samuel is, the best answer they could give me was that Acid Samuel's size equivalent is somewhere between a great white shark and a whale. So as a good fair estimate that meets somewhere in the middle, I then suggested that Acid Samuel may be the size of a full-grown orca or killer whale, and it looks like
come
one
on,
of
it
the
couldn't be
side
that
devs
big.
has confirmed it. If this is the case for Acid Samuel, a full-grown Antarctic Type A killer whale can grow up to 9 meters and weigh between 3 and 5 tons. If Acid Samuel is an equivalent size, this would make him roughly 30 feet long and weigh at least
That would be
3
one big
tons.
massive
Maybe more,
animatronic though.
considering that his inner skeleton is made of steel just like the other assets. To put it simply, Acid Samuel is basically big enough to swallow a person whole. Then again, with a body and jaws big enough to put Jaws to shame,
Come
it should
on,
be no surprise.
that would be
Now,
a
some
big...
of you might be wondering, how the heck is Sammy gonna fight if he can only swim in water? Well, let's not forget that Acid Samuel is a parasitic organism fused to an animatronic and not a real fish, so he technically doesn't actually need water to survive. His robot body was simply built to swim in water, but I see no reason why he can't just flop and hop around on land snapping his jaws to fight. It is within the realm of possibility, considering that salmon are pretty good jumpers. Alright, I think we talked enough about Sammy. Now let's move on to the 5th and final asset, the Farmer. Obviously an organism and a farmer animatronic, the Farmer is quite possibly the most menacing out of all the assets. Not only is the Farmer the only asset capable of speaking, but he speaks in a very unsettling and intimidating deep demonic voice that'll make anyone shiver with fear. Though at the same time, he's also surprisingly profound when it comes to discussing the topic of death. Anyway, the farmer carries a big bloody scythe sharp enough to decapitate 3 security guards in a single swing. Despite the trouble they
Scythes are,
faced, Obscura was
very,
able to contain the farmer within the
a
Happy
very-
Burger Retro
well,
Diner
not very good
simulation
weapons.
area, which the farmer has made his domain. Now, on a different note, there are some theories that the farmer may or may
It
not
looks
be
like the
linked
Undertaker
to
with a
the
hat.
serial killer of Northbury Grove, another horror game made by Side Dev Team, which is also set in the same universe. It is theorized that the farmer not only has a parasitic organism fused inside his robotic body, but he may also house the soul of the skull-wearing serial killer from Northbury Grove. While it's not entirely confirmed, it is possible considering that Paragon and Obscura have records of the Northbury Grove massacre incident and victims in their facility. Why would a genetic research company bent on mind-controlling people be interested in some random serial killer incident that happened way out of town and having no relation to their work? And once again, they keep archived records of the incident. Seems kinda strange, don't you think? Not to mention, there's a movie theater right next to Happy Burger in the farmer's domain that has Northbury Grove the movie premiering, and when the farmer traps you inside his domain, you can see the 4 barnyard buds hanged up in sort of a crucifixion-like fashion, which theoretically represents the 4 victims of the Northbury Grove massacre. Or it could just be a coincidence. Anyway, rather than going for a direct kill approach like the other assets, the farmer prepares his victims slowly by mentally manipulating them by speaking directly to them and luring them into his traps. Much like Asset Joy, the farmer seems to have some control over Obscura simulations and fabricated reality, and he can use it to create illusions and trap his prey inside several simulated prisons of his own making, including a maze that takes quite a bit of effort to find the way out, a junkyard in which the farmer just stands there menacingly, prompting his victims to climb a tall tower of stacked broken cars while a pool of lava rises up beneath them. And finally, the farmer's domain, an old barn surrounded by a spooky cornfield. Once the farmer traps you in his domain, there is no escape. That's when the farmer finally makes his move, stalking you around while swinging his deadly scythe until he butchers you like livestock. The only way to fend off the farmer and escape his domain is to give him what he wants. Specifically, one of each type of burger: beef, pork, and chicken. Now, you might have noticed a pattern by now involving burgers. As strange as it might sound, burgers are pretty much the only effective method of subduing or baiting the assets, as they all appear to have an irresistible craving for burgers, and I guess you could say the burgers have like a Scooby snack effect on the assets. Alright, now that we've fully covered each of the assets, let's go into a little more detail on what they're physically capable of. Considering that the assets are all made up of the same organisms, and the animatronics they're fused to were all built relatively the same way with the same robotic parts and materials, the assets should likely all have the same or at least similar levels of strength, speed, and durability. Let's start with strength. Obviously, all of the assets can easily overpower and kill dozens of humans at a time, tearing their flesh like paper and breaking their bones like twigs, and that's just scratching the surface. Acid Joy was once shown denting and breaking down a steel door with little effort, and Acid Chuck can bend and tear through metal elevator doors as well. Not only that, but Acid Chuck is even strong enough to smash and shatter metal lockers like glass. Considering most lockers are made of steel, it would take at least 40,000 psi to break, let alone completely shatter like glass. Out of all of the Acid strength feats, this is probably the most impressive one. Now, in terms of speed, Acid Peter is likely faster than he looks, as he could effortlessly catch and devour dozens of people who are likely running in fear of him. Acid Chuck, being the road runner like chicken he is, can often keep up with and sometimes outpace the running speed of humans, as he's been able to chase down and kill multiple people in the past. This may not be seen all that impressive so far, but Acid Joy, on the other hand, is definitely the fastest. The very split second you look away from Acid Joy, she moves incredibly fast in short bursts, so fast it's almost as if she's teleporting. Sometimes you don't even see her move, which may indicate that she can move faster than the eye can see. Whatever you do, don't blink. Not to mention, it's likely that Acid Joy can probably dodge bullets as well, though it's not confirmed. Speaking of which, as for durability, Acid Joy can lightly tank bullets, which don't seem to affect her. While it hasn't been directly shown, at the end of the game, you could hear people firing machine guns at Acid Joy right before she kills them.
Get back! Open fire! Open fire!
Holy crap, assets.
and she walks out of that shootout without a single scratch. Not only that, but Acid Joy also appears to be capable of surviving a burger bomb exploding point blank without a scratch. Even if you don't want to count that as a feat, it's not far-fetched considering that Acid Peter has devoured dozens of AI units, which can explode like walking bombs, so it's likely that he had multiple AI bombers blowing up in his belly. There's also Acid Chuck's lava and heat resistance thing I mentioned earlier. Not to mention, the farmer seemed to be just fine after presumably submerging himself in lava. Oh, and let's not forget that the organisms fused to the animatronics have survived a nuclear bomb detonating near their home, though it's hard to say whether if this was due to the organism's durability, a rapid regeneration ability, or if the organisms are simply immune to nuclear radiation just like cockroaches, or perhaps a mix of those reasons. Well, regardless, the organisms that became the assets are very difficult to kill. Not even Paragon or Obscura could get rid of them so easily. So there you have the Barnyard Buds. While Happy Inner Buds are humble and friendly, though their asset counterparts I doubt you'd want to be buds with. Just stick with Toe, he'll be your best bud. Now if you're thinking about applying for a job at Happy's Humble Burger Farm, well, you might want to seek employment elsewhere.
This is it, folks. Who will be the winner of this ultimate crazy epic showdown? It's time to find out. Now, without further ado, it's time for the Show-Off 2 Showdown.
This is a Drew Pickles disclaimer, because there are no MMD
I
models of any of the characters from Happy's
Drew,
Humble Burger Farm, or at least none at the time this video was made. We had to improvise by using some random models that look similar to HHBF's characters to represent them in this battle. Also, the animated fighting sequence you're about to see is not a simulation. It does not accurately depict what actually happened. If these characters talk, it is merely just for entertainment purposes. So, if anything seems off at any point in the fight, that's probably why. Hamada. P.S. FNAF Security Breach was created/owned by Scott Cawthon and Steel Wool Studios, and Happy's Humble Burger Farm was created/owned by Size Dev Team and Tiny Build. Can't have a disclaimer without that shit now, can you? Hamada. Now enjoy the epic battle. It's going to be super swell. Link.
Get ready for the next battle.
Neat.
Fight!
Holy cow. Chicken! Any more chicken? Oh, a mutated chicken, I mean. But that sounds awesome. Ouch. Uh-oh. Where's the chicken? The chicken's being a total. Actually, that chicken's very creepy. Alligator. Dun 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 dun. Jabba Jaw. Fish. Holy macaroni.
Gregory, please come back. I just want to talk.
Who are you? And what are you doing on my farm?
I'm just trying to make sure my son is safe.
By stabbing him?
No, I'm just giving him an empty threat.
Woman, you're in a bunny suit that probably took 5 hours to make. And you're holding a knife. You kid have the right mind to run away. If have a mom like you, would run away too. Plus your kid is probably 5.
Actually, he's 7.
You're still a grown woman chasing a child with a knife. You don't deserve your son.
You can't tell me how to raise my son.
Okay. If you're not willing to change your ways, I'll beat some change into you.
Oh yeah, bring it on, you fat farmer.
Okay, you asked for it. Nice damage.
I mean, how is a scythe a good choice of a weapon? Come on.
Meanwhile,
it's time to kick Finn and chew zooplankton, and I'm all out of zooplankton. Why don't you fight me like a fish, tough guy? Get your stinking nets, hooks, and worms out of my face, fisherman. Listen, kid, either you start swimming with the fishes, or you'll be stuck sleeping with them. Sometimes you gotta swim against the tide. Take me to the river, drop me in the water, you know? You ever tried sleeping with seaweed for a blanket? Didn't think so. Hey, where are you going?
Holy crocodile.
To the fish, baby.
Are you hungry?
Hey, I'm not portly. I'm big boned.
Give up. You can't.
The hell?
Listen, Buster. I can't believe the farmer's son used to call me Big Chungus. What a dork.
I bet you don't even have friends.
You know, you boys are a bunch of smug swine. The Barnyard Buds are my real family, not you.
I heard that. You are nothing!
I don't care what you wild boars say. You said, that'll do, Big, with a condescending tone.
Sorry.
Don't patronize me!
You think you're better than me?
This sounds like total bull crap to me.
Nobody
that's just wrong.
Who do you think you are? The farmer?
Not fair! You must be cheating.
Tag! You're it.
Just chill out, dude. Let Charlie the
chicken.
Chillin' Chicken show you how to kick it, man.
Who wants candy?
All I want to do is munch on Charlie snacks, play baritone, and chill.
Are you lost? Let me take you to your parents.
You're talking crazy, man.
I am just trying to help.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's just like your opinion, man.
No more games.
Dude, just chill out. Let Charlie the Chillin' Chicken show you how to relax, man.
Ooh.
There you are.
That's a scary bunny.
Will you survive this dark and dreary night, where shadow hath turned into a sea, an ocean of regret, in which you now drown?
Your friends are worried about you. They're here with me. Why don't you come out and we can play a game together?
No one can escape the eventuality of their fate. No one.
It's getting late. Let's get you home and put you to bed.
Life is fleeting. Death is destiny. Death is home. Would you rather live home?
Let's have some fun.
Your harvest is a certainty, and your grand scheme trivial.
See you soon. Disassemble Freddy. Knock, knock.
Will you survive tonight's dance through this cursed moonlight?
Are you having fun yet?
Death, homicide, murder, fatality, Mortality, all the finite measures, the smallest calculations representing your insignificant end.
You must be punished.
Pardon me.
99.
Clowns and rabbits. And farmers. With a scythe.
I may have lost my temper earlier, but it was just a glitch. It won't happen again.
Abandon peace and war. Turn away from love and hate. Embrace nothingness. And become eternal in your non-existence.
It's been such a difficult day for all of us.
All death is the same. Untimely, meaningless, and insignificant.
It was just a glitch.
Be they children, women, or beasts, be they gods, monsters, or men, they all fall silent and still in the cold, eternal embrace of death. Many have fallen by my side, and still many more will fall in the future. Forever stained with their repugnant likeness. Life feeds on death. Death is the source of life, and life the source of death. All of existence rests on this great truth. Your hearts.
The Undertaker Farmers one.
Grand scheme, trivial. Succumb to the source. Embrace nothingness.
Wow.
Okay, so serious.
I think I prefer the mast.
There you are.
Ever since I was a calf, I wondered what was going on beyond the farm.
Do not return. It will never be safe.
Giving up isn't in our nature.
The security system knows you are here and has locked you out.
Well, I think it needs a little more cowbell.
Be careful. I am not quite myself at the moment.
If Richie the Hound wants beef, then the Barnyard Buds will give him beef.
What are you doing?
Put your hind legs into it.
I have a bad feeling.
Don't have a cow, some milk ain't worth the squeeze.
Don't have a cow, that's funny.
Apparently the humans call us livestock. How can they call us that when they never let us truly live?
Do not leave me like this!
No use crying over spilt milk when we've lost so many buds to Mother Nature and Father Time.
Shame on you. You can no longer hide from me.
We've overcome mountain lions, packs of wolves, and the Citadel of Owl's death cult.
He is trying to take control of me. I do not think I can fight it for long. I cannot stop her! I know what this is. Let us end this.
Of course I won't give up. There's a reason the saying goes, till the cows come home after all.
Ouch.
It's a swell song, but, well, I think it needs a little more cowbell.
We'll climb every mountain, we'll ride every road.
Holy cow! No pun intended.
Alright, now let's discuss how and why the Barnyard Buds win this happy, humble showdown. First off, let's discuss who's more skilled and experienced. Now, it's hard to say which side has more experience. We do know that Freddy Fazbear has only been around since the 80s, while Happy has been around since the old black and white days. But if we're specifically looking at the Pizzaplex animatronics and assets, it's hard to say how long they've existed for, but I don't think it really matters anyway. In terms of skill or combative capability, while the Pizzaplex animatronics are more combatively capable than a lot of the older FNAF animatronics, they don't exactly have a whole lot of formal fighting skill or experience, considering that they were built for the purpose service of entertaining people, not for fighting or killing, while the assets on the other hand were literally made or bred to kill and consume, and are a lot more efficient at doing it than the FNAF animatronics are. Even if we argue that Vanny is an experienced serial killer who has murdered countless children, she's likely done so one at a time over a certain time span, and the same factor would likely apply to the Pizzaplex animatronics as well. While the assets on the other hand have casually massacred dozens of people at a time on a regular basis, so they are much more effective killing machines, and better capable of fighting as well. Now in terms of speed, the Pizzaplex animatronics running speed is only about maybe peak human level at best, while most of the assets are fast enough to chase down and outpace most humans, and Acid Joy's short bursts of speed are way faster than anything the FNAF animatronics have shown, and she alone can easily outpace all of them. When it comes to strength, this is no contest. Monty's best feat of strength is being able to lift or bench press up to 2 tons or 4,000 pounds at best, while assets like Chuck have shown feats of striking power literally 10 times greater, as he can once again shatter solid steel lockers like glass, which would require at least 40,000 pounds per square inch. Yeah, there's no way any of the Glamrocks could compete with that kind of strength. Not to mention, the sheer weight and size of Asset Peter and Samuel alone would probably be just too much for the Glamrocks to handle, considering that the animatronics are only about the size of humans, maybe slightly bigger at best, so assets like Peter and Samuel are big enough to literally swallow an animatronic whole, and likely crush them to death while ingesting them. Now as for durability, as impressive as the Glamrock animatronics durability is, I'm gonna have to give the edge to the assets as well. Now even if you don't want to count the nuke dropping on the island as a durability feat, the assets are capable of tanking bullets, bombs, exploding AI robots, lava, and not to mention their organisms have regenerative abilities, even capable of rapidly regenerating organs, like their stomach, after having it ripped out multiple times. With all that in mind, the Glamrock animatronics don't really have any effective method of permanently putting them down. To be honest, the only member of the security breach gang that might have a possible useful advantage is Vanny, mainly because of her ability to hack and take control of other animatronics by spreading the glitch trap computer virus. Although even that is highly unlikely to work, and let me explain why. The assets aren't just animatronics, they're also part organic, and they are possessed by highly intelligent parasitic organisms. Even if Vanny's glitch trap virus could infect the animatronics by themselves, it can't really do anything to the organisms already possessing them, and arguably doing so more effectively. Not to mention, let's not forget that the assets animatronics were made by Paragon and Obscura, corporate genetic research facilities that literally thrive on mind control, brainwashing, and fabricating reality. So Vanny's digital mind control and illusion disc aren't really anything new to the assets, as they've pretty much seen all that kind of stuff before when they were captured and likely experimented on by Paragon and Obscura, who were barely able to contain most of the assets without suffering numerous casualties. On a related note, if Vanny does have an illusion disc that can make people see things that aren't really there, Acid Joy and the Farmer can basically do the same thing and arguably better, as they have some control over Obscura's fabricated reality and simulations, and they can literally trap people inside illusional prisons of their own making, so it's highly unlikely that the illusion disc would be effective on the assets or anything they haven't already seen before. Oh, and on another note, the assets don't even need to steal Vanny's remote to turn her army of staff bots against her, as they could simply just infect her robots with their parasitic residue the exact same way they did with the AI robot customers, turning them into their own minions and giving them abilities like suicide bombing or puking up toxic sludge, which they'd obviously project at Vanny. Now, some of you might be wondering, could the assets organisms infect the Glamrock animatronics and take control of them? Well, it's possible, though it might be a little more difficult in staff or customer bots, considering that the robots they usually infect and take control of are robot customers that have very basic AI and are very easy to hack into. Heck, even a Burger Farm employee with presumably no engineering experience named E7 was able to hack into one of them, although it did result in the robot's head accidentally coming to life and forming an intelligent personality, despite not being originally programmed with it. Make of that what you will. Anyway, the artificial intelligence of the Glamrock animatronics is far more advanced than simple AI units, and not to mention Freddy was able to resist being taken control of by Burntrap for a short time. Though I'll say this, if the asset's ability to corrupt and control technology technology and AI is just as effective as Vanny's glitch trap virus, to say the least, then they shouldn't have much issue doing so. Though regardless if they can or not, I doubt the assets would really need to infect and take control of the Glamrox in order to defeat them, as they could simply destroy them through raw physical means alone. Oh, and to touch upon one last thing, using burgers on the assets isn't really an option for the Glamrox, since they pretty much only know how to make pizza and not burgers, so using the assets one and only semi-kryptonite in any way isn't really an option at all. I think I've said enough. So, in the end, looks like Freddy and his friends won't be getting a happy ending. The winners of this battle are the Barnyard Buds of Happy's Humble Burger Farm. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to give a special thanks and shout out to our new guest animator, Sparkles, for animating the first Chica versus Charlie chicken fight. He also made
Charlie
an
Chicken
alternate ending,
Chica.
and if you want to see it, go check it out on his channel and subscribe. Oh, and one more thing. For those of you who don't already know, I now officially have a Patreon. If you want to show your support and join the RCMP, as in Royal Canadian Mounted Patrons, then that would be so awesome, and I would really appreciate it. Members of the RCMP will have beneficial access to future episodes of Show Off Showdown and other videos before they're officially released, as well as exclusive access to special posts and videos that can only be viewed on Patreon.
Join the RCMP, and the first thing you'll learn is a nice shiny badge. Got any ideas for Show Off Showdown? Then let me know in the comments
Iron
below.
Man versus the
and
Guyver.
hopefully, I just might do them. Now stay tuned for the next episode of Show Off Showdown.
I'm telling you guys, that was a long video. At least a little bit about these two games. I'm telling you, it was a long video. I don't usually do like long videos like this, but hey, what can you do? Well, I guess Freddy bet his match. Whoa, that was long. So, if there's anything you guys want me to react to, just leave in the comments section below, and I will get to the video as soon as I can. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Thank you guys for watching. And if there's a series you want me to check out and review and give my thoughts on it, or if there's a top 10 list you want me to do, or any reactions, or responses, or rants on anything geeky, just leave links and comments in the comment sections below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put the bell on, share this video, and leave a comment in the comment sections below. And as for my social medias, I'm literally freaking everywhere! I'm on most video platforms, social medias, forums, and support sites. It's best to pause the video and see where I am. Literally all of this is down in the description box below. So if you want to go and check those out, please do. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out.